Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. Um, King just mentioned this music is going to make me sleep, bro. Yeah, the music, that's why I turned it off. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the stream. If you are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure to press the notification bell icon so that whenever a new video is uploaded, so that whenever a new live stream starts, you are notified immediately. And secondly, if you're not following me over Twitter, 𝗟𝘅𝗶𝗵𝘁𝘀, this is my Twitter handle. And, I occasionally share you know, trading calls, updates, market analysis, and everything over my Twitter account as well. So, yeah, for analysis, market updates, you can follow me over Twitter also. 𝗟𝘅𝗶𝗵𝘁𝘀, once again, this is my Twitter handle. And if you would like to have a little bit more organized feed, more organized market updates, calls, trading calls, and everything, you can always join my Discord server. And the link you can find in the description of this video. Uh, the link is also going to be somewhere in the chat, right? So, yeah, please make sure to join the Discord server. And yes, finally, make sure to smash the like button. Someone just pointed out in the chat that this is going to be the most anticipated market open. And I completely agree with you. This is definitely one of the most anticipated market open. And I would recommend that you guys stay with me till the end of this live stream, because once again, this is going to be a very important live stream. I would try my best to, cover each and every possible aspect of the market. I know that a lot many people are stuck in a few positions. A lot many of you were not expecting the market to go down to like 86,000, 85,000. But yeah, the US market just opened 5 minutes ago. So we would have to wait a little bit. We would have to wait like for a few minutes to get the actual reaction. But yeah, it's very important that we just don't focus on the fundamentals and everything. We need to focus on the charts as well. We need to focus on the technicals as well, that what exactly the charts are telling us. Okay, so first of all, price Bitcoin is trading right now at 88,800. We have a long position open on Bitcoin. Entry is at 88,922, and the DCA for this one is at 86,940 or 960, and stop loss is manual 4-hour close below 85,469. So this is the first long position that we have open, and this one is on Bitcoin. The second one that we have open is on Ethereum, and this one I gave, I guess, back on 11th of Feb. So almost like, 14-15 days ago. This is another position that we have open. This one is on Ethereum. For this one, the stop loss has already been moved to break even. And if you guys remember, I gave this long position when price was trading somewhere around like 2,800, 2,700, and Eric Trump was continuously tweeting that, price, you should buy Ethereum, price would go up, you should be buying Ethereum. And that's when I gave the limits for 2,200, 2,300. And that's when, a lot many of you were asking me if price would go down to 2,200, 2,300. And once again, the reason was deviation. We know that whenever there is a deviation, the deviation retest in almost like 90% of the cases almost always happens. And then on top of that, we had this trend line on ETH as well. I'll be talking about the trend lines throughout this live stream. So if you guys have been watching some of my previous live streams, you would already know how we trade these trend lines, the way these trend lines should be traded. And if it's an upward forming trend line, what happens in these kind of situations? If it's a downward forming trend lines, what happens in those kind of situations? So yeah, it's very important that you have a basic understanding of these trend lines as well. So, this was our second long position that we have open. By the way, the stop loss for this one has already been moved to break even, because I did not want to take any risk on ETH. Anything could be happening. And the third position that we have, which is, by the way, is still running at risk, is on Cake USDT. This one is still open. You can see that 2.149. This is our entry for this long position. and 2.169. Price right now is at 2.146. So this is basically around the entry price. If you wish to enter into this position, you can do that. This one is still active, and I just entered into this position like 2 or 3 hours ago. Not the best position. The rating for this position is 7 out of 10. The only best confluence for this position is because price is sitting on this daily time frame support. And then if you would look at the 4 hour time frame chart, then you have a major swing low present around here. And if you would draw the fib levels, then you would notice that price basically is sitting at 70.5% fib level, which means that it would take some time, obviously, because we are looking at it on the daily time frame chart. So when you talk about the higher time frame charts, price would obviously take some time to move in the direction of your choice. But yeah, once again, it's a swing long position, and I am expecting that since this is the first retest. So the first retest most probably is going to be a successful one, and price would go up from here. Apart from that, I don't really have any long position open. And let's just talk about Bitcoin once again. What exactly is happening with Bitcoin right now? So if we go to the 4 hour time frame chart, okay, this is the this is something that could be valid in a short term. If we would go to the 4 hour time frame chart, and I don't really want to show you guys any other charts like the order flow and the rest of the things, but there is a possibility that price may go down to 88,000. It's almost down to 88,300. I was about to mention this thing in my update as well before starting the stream, but then we were short on time, right? So there is a possibility that price may go down to 88,000 if this is the bottom. If this wick right here, okay, please listen to this very carefully. If this wick right here, and usually these kind of wicks, they usually form bottom, because if you would look at the historical data on the 4 hour time frame chart, you would notice that usually whenever you have huge wicks in one direction, towards upside, towards downside, that's when usually a bottom is formed, right? This is not the perfect way to say that a bottom has been formed. This is just a random guess. What I'm trying to emphasize on is that uh, this whole dump thing basically happened, or basically started yesterday, when Trump announced that the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, they will be uh, they will be resumed, or they will be in full effect from 4th of March. And if you guys remember, this dump right here, that happened on a weekend. If you guys remember that, when price was trading somewhere around 105,000, I guess, and then we had a straight dump down to 91,000, and this was back on 2nd of Feb and 3rd of Feb. If you guys remember, it was weekend, right? And then on Monday, immediately when the market opened, we had a quick huge move from 93,000 all the way up to 102,000, and that's where we took our short position. And by the way, just to let you know, for this short position, our final TP has finally been hit. This is a short position which we opened basically around 102,000. And then secondly, we have another short position open, the limits basically open, which is going to be at 98,150. So this is a long position, and for short position, our limits are placed around 98,150. I would explain to you the reasoning for that short position also. But yeah, for this short position that we have, you can take the final TP. The final target has been finally hit, and we took our first TP, if I remember correctly, around 98,000. Then the second TP was at 95,000. This, you can take, basically you can close 90% of your position around here. But anyways, this dump that happened back on 2nd and 3rd of Feb was mainly because, at that time, Trump, made the announcement that he would be placing, or, he would be imposing, I guess, 10 to 15% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. And the very next day, on Monday, he made a conversation with Mexican Prime Minister and, the Canadian Prime Minister. And then he said that, okay, the tariffs, they are being delayed for 1 month, and after 1 month we'll see what happens. And based on that, market immediately made a move from 93,000 all the way up to 102,000, right? This is just a quick recap. So and because those tariffs and everything, it was announced on weekend, so it was very much a priced in thing. Markets were, the dump had already happened, the stock market had already gone down a lot. So you could have said that, okay, this was obviously something that was already priced in. Now, The situation here is slightly different, okay, because the tariffs were announced suddenly once again yesterday when Trump made the announcement that, he would be resuming the tariff thing from 4th of March on Canada and Mexico, and then the whole stock market went down. Similar was the case with Bitcoin as well. But if you guys have been trading with me, if you guys have been reading my updates, you would know that we are, we don't really always focus on the fundamentals. We are most of the times focused on the technicals, right? So be it the Bybit hack that happened back on Friday, or be it the announcement related to tariffs, or be it any other thing, you guys would already know that we are almost always focused on the technicals. And whatever move happens on the chart, we always try to find the reasonings on the chart, right? And secondly, let's see what happens. The US market just opened. It's been like 15 minutes. We'll see what happens. But if this is the bottom wick in terms of order flow, the point of control is present around 88,000. And you can see that 88,000 has just been wicked. There is still a possibility that price may go down to this level also. I'm not ruling out any kind of possibility because this is a very, very small confluence. I'm just stating that if this is the bottom wick, and this could be the wick, which is forming the bottom, then usually price would go down soon after the formation of bottom wick and fill at least 50% of that wick. This is a very common thing, right? In this situation also, you can see that we had a huge downside move, down to 91,000, and then in the next wick, in the next 4 hour, we filled almost the 50% of this candle. It's not right to say that price would go down and fill the 50% of the candle. There is usually a point of control present around in that wick, which you would only be able to see, which you would only be able to notice if you are using some kind of like, order flow tool or order flow software, right? And in this situation, obviously the point of control was present around here. And for this wick, and let me just say this to you, for this wick right here, I guess no, for this wick right here, the point of control was present around here, and that's why in the very next candle you saw that, okay, price went down, filled the 50% of that wick, and then we had the move up to 102,000. For this wick, or for this move that happened back on 13th of January, okay, uh, down to 89,251, the point of control was present, I remember, exactly around 89,800. It was present exactly around here. No, not 89,900. If I remember correctly, it was at 90,940. And you can see that last night when we had this dump, price went down to, if I look at the low of this candle, price went down to exactly 90,912, filled the point of control of this candle, which was formed back on 13th of January. And then we had the move from 90,900 up to, I guess, 92,500. And I would explain to you the reasoning as to why we had a very big rejection, a strong rejection at this region. It was mainly because of TVEM. This is a very beautiful indicator that I have created. I have recently introduced this indicator. If you do not have any idea about the indicator, please make sure to apply it on your chart. It's a very useful indicator, and it's not obviously generating any buy and sell signals for you, but it's free. You can just go to the indicators tab, you can search for TVEM, and it's called TVEM bands. This is the one that has 512 users. This is the one that you have to use. You don't have to use the 68. This one is obviously private, and this one you cannot use. You have to use this one. They are basically similar ones. This one is obviously public and this one is private. So I was getting a lot many requests. I still have like 10 people who requested that what's happening with the indicator. It's private. You can use it, but you have to use the public version. This one that has 512 users. We are testing that 50% wick. Yes, exactly. So we are retesting this 50% wick. But once again, this is not a very strong confluence. It really depends. Uh, it really depends if this is the bottom wick or not. Okay, and it's less about the Bitcoin chart, and actually it's more about the USDT dominance chart. To be honest, it's less about the Bitcoin chart at this moment. It's more about the USDT dominance chart, because USDT dominance is basically something that has been completely dictating as to what's happening with Bitcoin right now. And just to let you know, Bitcoin dominance is going down, and most probably it's about to hit the next support level, right? So Bitcoin dominance is right now sitting at support, but this is something that we'll be talking about later on. Uh, so, coming back to the discussion related to Bitcoin, let's first of all try to understand this wick that we have seen at 86,800 level, right? This is obviously a support level on the Bitcoin chart because we know that price was back at this level, on 15th of November. But secondly, in terms of fractals, if you would look at this move right here, this one, I guess it was, let me just invert the, yeah. So if you are using this fractal right here, this move that happened from 108,000 all the way down to 91,000, if you would draw the fib levels in this situation, you would notice that the next reaction should have happened exactly at 127% level, right? So the 127% level, it has been tapped. Price has already retested 127% level. But if you guys have been following my live streams and my updates, you would know this thing already, that 127% reaction is usually a very weak reaction. 127% reaction is usually not a strong reaction. And you would see a small reaction take place at 127%, and then eventually price would go down to 161% fib level, or 165%, 170.5% fib level, which means that if we start losing this level, if we go below this level, if we start breaking below this level, then there is every possibility that we may have a move down to 81,000 or 80,000. Okay, this could be in the form of a huge wick, but I would not emphasize much on this one. I would like to focus more on the USDT dominance chart, because this fractal is kind of an old fractal. This is not a fractal that actually formed the all-time high. This is a fractal that created the all-time high, so it's not that important. In fact, if we use this fractal right here, which created the all-time high, this is a fractal right here which created the all-time high, if you would draw the fib levels from start of impulsive wave to the end of impulsive wave, then you would notice that the 127% reaction happened, and then the next reaction should have happened somewhere around like 89,000 and 178,000. And last night, price is still, by the way, trading in this range. You should actually be using the daily time frame chart if you have to notice any of these things. But yeah, in this situation, the next reaction should have happened at 161, 165% fib level. But once again, I don't really want to focus much on the Bitcoin chart. I would lay out all the possibilities. If you have to understand the current price action, you would have to look at the USDT dominance chart and not on the Bitcoin chart. USDT dominance chart, because that chart is sitting at resistance or sitting at support. This chart, USDT dominance, would tell you where exactly Bitcoin is headed towards. Okay, so first of all, for the quick market update, let's take a look at the USDT dominance chart. I was expecting, or I was hoping, that this would be, or this move right here would turn into a deviation, right? If I show you the daily time frame chart, you can basically notice that this is a very small resistance, very small 4-hour. This resistance you would basically notice on the 4-hour time frame chart. This is a small resistance on 4-hour on the USDT chart, and we had a small rejection around here. So this resistance, very much it has done its part, and most likely price is now headed towards this resistance right here. Okay, you can measure the distance, and this could be slightly scary thing. But if you move to the 4-hour time frame chart, you can notice that we had a hit into this resistance level, then price came down a little bit, and then I was hoping that this would turn into a deviation. Obviously, when you are in a long position, you really hope that, okay, this plays out in your favor. There is no way that you can, judge, or there is no way you can predict with 100% accuracy if a particular move would turn into a deviation or not. So in this situation, it's clear that this was not a deviation. We hit this resistance area, then we went back down to this support, and now we are clearly bouncing off this support. And this is the same thing that I mentioned in my USDT update also. A few hours ago, I posted this update in which I clearly mentioned that just tapped a small resistance that we broke through back in November 6, meaning we are now retesting the November levels on USDT.D, now sitting tight between support and resistance. So you need to focus on these lines. It's sitting tight between support and resistance. So this is a resistance that we tapped, and this is a support that we bounced off from. So price has been sitting in between these two levels. So I was hoping that price would ultimately create a deviation, and without bouncing off this level, it would straight away break through this level. But obviously that did not happen, and that's why I'm saying that if you are only looking at the Bitcoin chart, you wouldn't really be able to notice anything, right? You wouldn't be able to find out where the next resistance or where the next support is. And that's why it's very important that you are focused on the USDT dominance chart. You are looking on the USDT dominance chart, and that's where you would get the actual reaction. That's where you would get to see the real reaction, right? And in this situation, you can clearly see that we had a rejection at resistance, then we came back down. We had, we fell back down into this higher time frame support. But usually, a support is being held if we have some kind of consolidation. But obviously, this is an extraordinary kind of a situation. Usually, I was hoping that since a very small wick since a huge wick happened, since we have no consolidation in this region, so most likely price would simply just fall back down under this resistance level once again. But this is a kind of a scary thing. I would like to point out that price is now about to close another 4-hour candle in this region. If you are not long on Bitcoin, if you have been planning to go long on Bitcoin, then you should definitely do it around here, 5.2% level, because notice that this was a resistance on USDT dominance that had not been retested since 7th of November, right? And we retested this resistance back on 3rd of Feb. And we know that the first retest is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short trade, right? First thing. Secondly, this was another resistance that had not been retested before, right? And we gave the first retest at this resistance. It was when Bitcoin went down to 86,000, and that was perfect retest, 86,800, and we bounced off that point. And once again, you could have taken a long position around here. And now this is a third resistance that has not been retested before, which means that if you would look around here, you would notice that price had a break below this level back on 5th of November when the US elections were happening, right? Obviously, Bitcoin started going up. Obviously, USDT dominance started going down. It had the small bounce at this support level, and then we straight away fell through this level, and we flipped it into a resistance region, right? So if we go back up here, if we go back up to 5.2% level, this could be a really good opportunity for you to build an aggressive long position on Bitcoin. Okay, let me repeat this statement. If USDT dominance goes back up to 5.2%, then this could be a very good opportunity for you to open an aggressive long position on Bitcoin, because this level on USDT dominance has not been retested before. Okay, and we already know that if a level has not been retested as support or as resistance, whenever the first retest happens, it's usually the best opportunity to take a long or a short trade, which means that if price goes back up here, there is a high likelihood, there are 80 to 90% chances that we are going to see some kind of rejection at this resistance area on the USDT dominance chart, which means that you would be able to build a long position on Bitcoin, right? And secondly, if you look at some dynamic lines, we have MTF 200 EMA present around here. This is something that we'll be talking about later on. And then we have 1-day 12-period exponential moving average, and then the rest of the stuff, right? But the, a part that you need to be worried about is that USDT dominance has now once again fully reclaimed this level, okay, which is not a good thing for Bitcoin. If it, we still have 1 hour and 3 minutes for this candle to close. We said the same thing when, just yesterday when price was trading around 4.68%. And this is, by the way, how a deviation looks like. Price would go back above resistance, then it would not stay above the resistance. It would, ultimately fall back under resistance level. Similar is the case here. You can see that this is something that you call deviation. And whenever a deviation happens above a resistance level and price goes back under that resistance level quickly, whenever the retest of that resistance happen, it usually presents you with a very good opportunity to build a short position on that chart. And a short position on USDT dominance basically means a long position on Bitcoin, right? And there is still 1 hour and 2 minutes for this candle to close, which means that we know the amount of volatility that's present in the market right now. So most probably there is a high likelihood of this to happen as well. I would not say high likelihood, I would say a very small chance, but still 1 hour and 2 minutes for this candle to close. If we fall back under this resistance level, okay, in the same 4-hour candle in the next 1 hour, then this could once again be termed as a deviation move. Okay, this could once again be termed as a deviation move, which means that if price on the USDT dominance chart falls back under this resistance level, it goes something like this, falls back under this resistance, and whenever the retest happens, this could be a very good opportunity for you, whenever the retest of on the USDT dominance chart happens around here, this would be a good opportunity for you to build a long position on Bitcoin. And that's why I require you guys, to be focused on the USDT dominance chart as well, and not just be looking at the Bitcoin chart, right? So we have so far talked about two very important levels. The first one is present around here, which is the resistance on the USDT dominance chart, which if it gets retested, if price goes back up to this level, 5.2% level, then this could be a good long opportunity on Bitcoin, right? And what that level could be, let's talk about that part. Now, both of these charts, they're usually not in perfect sync with each other. Like they are not perfectly synced. But if you need to get a rough idea of where exactly Bitcoin could be bouncing off from, the distance from this resistance is around 2.67% on the USDT dominance chart, which means that there is still a possibility that Bitcoin may go down 2.67%, right? So 2.67% on Bitcoin, that's going to be a retest of 85,000, right? 84,951, which means that still a high likelihood that we are about to see a retest of 85,000 if price on the USDT dominance chart goes back up to this resistance level, right? This is first thing. And secondly, if we fall back under this resistance level, then that's a totally separate story. It's totally separate situation. Then you would have to wait for consolidation. Then you would have to wait for the retest, just like it happened in this situation also, just like it happened in these two situations also, just like it happened in this situation. You can see that price went up to the resistance, then quickly fell back, and then you had nice deviation in this region. This is something that you call deviation. And then whenever the deviation happens, the next retest presents you with a very good long or a short opportunity. So in this case, it was a very good short opportunity on USDT dominance. Obviously, you cannot trade USDT dominance, but you can, at the same time, you can do the opposite on the Bitcoin chart. Okay, but that would be a totally separate situation. Now let's talk about a scenario which, in my opinion, is more likely than any of these two situations, right? Which may even happen when Bitcoin goes back up to this resistance level. So, there is a high likelihood, there is still 59 minutes for this candle to close. Anything could be happening, right? But there is a high likelihood that price would continue to consolidate in this range. It would ultimately go back up to 5.2% level, okay? Which means that price on the Bitcoin chart would go down to at least 85,000. And that's where you are going to see some kind of retest, or that's where you're going to see some kind of reaction. And, the reason why I say that this is not the most favorable outcome for Bitcoin is because this would mean that this region right here, this support level, or this level right here in general, would automatically be flipped into a support level, right? Which means that on the USDT, on the Bitcoin chart, this region right here, 89,000, this would automatically be flipped into a resistance level. Once again, this is very important. If on the USDT dominance chart we go back up to this level, there is a high likelihood that obviously if all of these things happen in just one 4-hour candle, like if we just wick immediately up to it, 5.2% level, and then if we immediately go back down to 85,000 level on Bitcoin, and then price immediately dumps, just like it happened back on 3rd of Feb also. You can see that in one 4-hour candle we wicked to at this resistance level, then we quickly fell back under this resistance level, and the next retest was a very good opportunity. If something of that sort happens, okay, that's a totally separate situation, but that would have to happen in the same 1-hour period. Okay, the more and more, okay, the thing that I'm trying to explain is that the more and more price stays below 89,000 on the Bitcoin chart, and more price on the USDT dominance chart stays above this level, the difficult it's going to be on the Bitcoin chart for price to break back above any of these levels. Okay, we know that we already have broken below 92,000, 91,000. I would show you on the Bitcoin chart as well, when I would be explaining to you the complete backstory, because it's very important to understand the context. Okay, this is just the things that I'm explaining right now. It's just small market update. I'm not explaining to you the complete backstory as to whatever what are the things that have happened in the past 24 hours. Obviously we have discussed the fundamentals, like it's basically because of the news related to tariffs, but we have not talked about the technicals part. So if price goes back up to this resistance level, or even if USDT dominance quickly falls back below this support level, which has not been fully reclaimed, by the way, in the same 1-hour candle, that's going to be the most favorable outcome. Okay, that's once again going to be the most favorable outcome. But if we continue to consolidate in this range, there is like 56 minutes for this 4 hour candle to close. And if we start closing a few other 4 hour candles in this range, then this would simply just be termed as a deviation, which means that it would only be a matter of time that price on the USDT dominance chart would go back up to this resistance level, and then it would go back down to this support, which means that price on the Bitcoin chart may go down to 85,000, and then it would take some time to break above the range of 85,000 to 89,000. Okay, meaning that 89,000 it's going to turn into a strong resistance level. And that's why it's very important that this 1 hour candle gives us something, or even the next 1 hour candle also. This candle 55 minutes for this candle to close, if it starts closing in this range, and then the next 4 hour candle also closes above this level right here, then that's going to be a slightly difficult situation on the Bitcoin chart. All right. Okay, so now let's first of all talk about what are the things that have happened in the past 24 hours, right? So far, we have discussed everything related to Bitcoin chart, like, what exactly are the levels that could be retested in the near future. But let's now quickly talk about, what are the things that have happened in the past 24 hours. Why did I just hear of Mario Jump SFX? I don't know what that is. Okay, so first of all, you need to focus on, this trend line right here. Okay, and that's why it's very important. I would recommend all of you. Okay, 108 people are watching the live stream first of all, and only 40 of you have liked it. Okay, I would really appreciate if you guys are able to like the live stream, and if you are, if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel. The thing I was about to say is that I would highly recommend that you guys at least join the Discord server, because I'm regularly sharing the market updates. Even if you don't want to receive any calls, even if you are receiving calls in any other Discord server, because we don't have we don't have a $500 subscription. We are charging a very small amount for subscription, right? Most of you can actually afford that subscription amount. But the thing that would benefit you a lot is the market updates. And this is the next point that I was about to raise. Even I shared the market updates, some of the market updates, over my Twitter account also. And I was just yesterday, when price on the Bitcoin chart was trading somewhere around here, around 94,000, 95,000, I clearly mentioned this thing, that it's only a matter of time that price would break below this trend line. Okay, I clearly mentioned this thing, that it's only a matter of time that price would break below the trend line. In fact, I shared two updates. The first one said that price is sitting on this trend line. Similar is the case with Ethereum as well. Ethereum is also sitting on a similar kind of trend line. And I'm not just saying any of these things. All of these market updates, you can basically notice, price is back at the same trend line that we have been bouncing at since 89.5K. Notice how each bounce, the reaction is weaker in comparison to the previous one. If you know anything about trend lines or have been reading my updates, you would know what that means. Okay, this is first update. And in the second update, I'm saying that the way price is sitting at the trend line around 94,000 level, and USDT dominance is about to close second consecutive 4-hour candle above that level, only thing that's holding it back is MTF 200 EMA, which means that this is the important line, which means that it's, Bitcoin has already lost the 95K support, and now it's only a matter of time that we break below this trend line. Okay, and once again, if you guys have been watching my updates, if you guys have been watching my live streams, you would know that I'm almost always talking about trend lines, and I'm almost always explaining how you can trade the trend lines, right? Whenever you notice a trend line of this sort, I'm not going to talk about the opposite of this trend line, because that is usually valid in the bullish case scenario. But whenever you spot this kind of a trend line, be it the Bitcoin chart, be it the chart for any other any other stock, be it the chart for Ethereum or any other thing, right? Any other financial asset, you would know that sooner or later price is about to break below this trend line, and it's going to be a very impulsive break below. Okay, because it's kind of very obvious. People would spot this trend line, the first bounce, second bounce, third bounce. They would say that, okay, price has been bouncing off this trend line, and this is the beginner mentality, beginner psychology. They would say that price has been bouncing off this trend line, so let's take a long trade the next time price goes back down to this trend line. A lot many people would be doing the same thing, which means that all of these people, they would be placing the stops below this low. This is the key low, right? This is the key swing low. or below this low or below this low, which means that there are going to be a huge number of sell stops placed down below these lows or sell stops placed in this region, which means that ultimately price would break below the trend line. Okay, you can see that price would break below the trend line very impulsively. The reason why this impulsive move happens is because a market maker only has to give the price a small push. Let's say, price is sitting somewhere around here. Market maker has to push the price just below this low right here. So what happens next is that as price starts breaking below the low, below the previous low, people start panicking, right? They would start, they would basically start to panic close their positions, or they would start getting liquidated, or they would start getting stopped out of their long position. So three things once again are happening. People are getting liquidated on their long positions. Those who are going with high leverage, people are getting stopped out of their long trades, and people are panic closing their long positions. And we know that whenever the long positions are being closed or whenever the sell stops are triggered, selling takes place. Okay, this is what's the meaning of a long position. You're opening a long position, which means you're buying something. Okay, or you are expecting the price to go up. Whenever a long position is being closed, it means selling is taking place. And we know that whenever the selling would take place, price would basically go down a lot. Price would go further down. When price would reach at this point, once again the sell stops are being triggered, and the same thing is happening, selling is taking place, price would once again go down even further, right? When price would reach this point right here below this low, once again a similar thing would happen, it would go further down. Okay, so this basically, whenever price breaks below the trend line, it sort of creates a chain reaction. Okay, it sort of creates a chain reaction in which price would just continue to go down. And if you guys remember the trend line entry model, which is by the way very important entry model, and I can show you countless examples of this trend line, not just on the Bitcoin chart, but on the Ethereum chart, on the USDT dominance chart, on the others.d chart, on the Bitcoin dominance chart, because this is what happens every now and then. The moment you spot this trend line, be it any other financial asset chart, you would know that, okay, price is about to break below this trend line, and that's going to be a very impulsive break below. So I need to stay away from any kind of long positions. But yes, the entry model that you would practice is going to be the one in which you would wait for price to fall back into some higher time frame support, which is this one. And in this situation, this is the higher time frame support. You would wait for price to fall back into higher time frame support. Okay, and then you would wait for price to it's completely up to you. If you are bullish on that particular pair, you can take a long position at that higher time frame support, and then you would wait for price to go back up from there. Okay, it's going to look something like this, and then you would simply just place a short position there. Okay, so this is what happened on the Bitcoin chart in the past 24 hours, that we had this trend line. Price was bouncing off this trend line, the first bounce, second bounce, third bounce. And how do you know that price is about to break below the trend line? Whenever you see that the bounces are getting weaker, and if you would go to the 1 hour time frame chart, you would know that this was the smallest bounce, weakest bounce in comparison to this one, in comparison to this one, and in comparison to this one right here. Okay, and if I just go back to the 4 hour time frame chart, you can basically notice that on the 4 hour time frame chart, this was the first bounce, it was the biggest one. This was the second bounce, it was smaller one in comparison to the first one. This was the third bounce. Okay, it was the smaller one in comparison to the first two bounces. And then this was the third bounce, which was the smallest one in comparison to all three previous bounces, which basically gives you an indication that, okay, price is about to break below the trend line, and I need to stay 2 kilometers away from any kind of long position. I just need to wait for price to fall back into some higher time frame support, which is this one in this situation. Okay, it obviously depends on a few other confluences also. Like in this situation, you can use a USDT dominance chart as well. But yeah, this was the trend line that we had a break below. In if you are using the entry model, trend line entry model, you would wait for price to fall back into. Mario is infesting this place. It's because of the notifications on this panel. Let me just I guess. All right. So we cancel your long position. No, you don't have to cancel the long position. I'm just explaining to you the trend line entry model. So you would wait for price to fall back into higher time frame support. That's where you would take a long position. And then you would wait for price to go back up. okay, and give a nice bearish retest at the trend line, wherever the trend line is at that point, and that's where you would take a short position. Okay. uh Similar example you would find out on the ETH chart also. This is a chart for Ethereum. You can notice that, we had a similar kind of trend line on the 4-hour time frame chart. The first bounce, the second bounce, third bounce, and if you guys remember, I guess almost a week ago, someone asked me about the Ethereum update, and I mentioned this trend line saying that it's only a matter of time that price would break below. And it's kind of very obvious whenever you spot this trend line, you know that okay, price is about to break below the trend line, and it would fall back into some higher time frame support, which is this one in this situation, right? And the reason I took a long position around here was because of the 50% of the wick. That's a completely separate, that's a completely separate situation. This was a deviation retest also. I still believe that on each chart you could have a nice good long position when 2281 region gets retested, but yeah, we'll see what happens, right? For now we are more focused on the Bitcoin chart, and please let me know what's your entry on the Bitcoin long position. I guess our second entry was at 89,922, so our average entry right now is, and remember that the stop loss we have is 4-hour close below 85,469. So 22. And what was our second DCA? Sorry, our DCA was at 86,000. 87,931 is our average entry right now. It's still a very risky long position, I would say. And let's see what happens. I entered at 86,870, 4.4 PNL right now. Should I get out? No, I think you should be holding on to your position, and I would recommend all of you to comment in the chat box what is your entry on the Bitcoin long position right now. Okay, so this is all about Bitcoin. We had a break below this trend line. And secondly, let's just try to understand why we were not able to break above this resistance level right here. Okay, why we were not able to, have a nice break above 92,145. If you look at the TVEM line, and first of all, let me just turn off the rest of these dynamic lines. And I would highly recommend that you guys watch my live stream from the last week as well, because in that live stream, I explained in detail why it has been so difficult on the Bitcoin chart for price to break above 88,500. Okay, let's first of all try to understand this reaction around here, this reaction that we saw at 92,000. And then next, let's try to understand the reason why we have not been able to break above the 98,500 level. Like we retested 98,500 first time, second time, third time. There were like 8 to 9 retests of 99. Ivan, your entry is 89,500. You really need to average your entry. You really need to DC right now and average your entry. Okay, this is very important. So any of you who have not done DC on your entry, this is the point where you need to do that, and please make sure to do DC on your entry. Okay, so we need to understand two very important things. The first one, the reason why we were not able to break above 92,000 level last night, and secondly, the reason why we were not able to, despite having like 5 to 6 different attempts, we were not able to break above 98,500 level. What was the reason for this? Okay, first of all, the reason we were not able to break above this level right here, 92,000, was last night, was because we had a 4-hour close below this purple line right here. Okay, you can use this black line also. I have this one. They're basically the same things. They're just using some kind of different method of calculation, but they are very much similar, right? They're the same things. So let's just try to use this TVEM indicator. And by the way, you can find out this TVEM indicator in the indicators tab. You would simply just search for TVEM bands, and this is the indicator that you have to use, the one which has 512 users. This one is free. I was getting a lot many DMs requests of people saying that the script is private. No, it's not. You don't have to use this one, trailing VWAP and all that. You have to use this TVEM band script which has 512 users. Okay, the reason why we were not able to break above this level was because of TVEM bands. It's not some supernatural thing. It's simply just the average of quarterly VWAP and 1 day 200 period exponential moving average. And then as a standard deviation multiplier, I have used the value of 0.2. Okay, so once again, uh, what this indicator does is that it plots the quarterly it plots a quarterly VWAP on whatever time frame you are using, and then at the same time it plots 1 day 12 period exponential moving average at 200 period exponential moving average on the daily time frame chart, and then it simply just calculates the average of these two dynamic lines and displays it as one single line. I have included the option for yearly VWAP also, monthly VWAP also. I have included the option for 1 day, 12 hour, 4 hour, 3 day, 1 week. And I have included the option for 200, 12, 21, 50, 100 and 200. It's completely up to you which settings you would like to use, but I would recommend using these settings. For example, now price is already broken below these levels. Now you can use the uh, you know the higher time frame settings as well. For example, let's try to use the yearly VWAP in this situation, and let's just see where exactly the TVEM bands is. So if you're using the yearly VWAP, like you are averaging out 1 day 12 period, 1 day 200 period exponential moving average with the yearly VWAP instead of quarterly VWAP, then the line is somewhere, then this dynamic line is somewhere around 80,000, right? So this region could be acting as a very good support. But let's just change the value to quarterly, and let's try to understand the reason why price was not able to break above this level. First of all, and secondly, the reason why price was not able to break above 98,500 was because of this thing right here, this black line, which is on the daily time frame chart, quarterly VWAP. This is quarterly VWAP on the daily time frame chart. Okay, let's just, yeah, okay, so this is quarterly VWAP on the daily time frame chart. So let's just try to understand both of these things side by side. The reason why we were not able to break above 92,000 last night was because we had already lost the TVEM band, which is basically the average of quarterly VWAP and 200 period exponential moving average on the daily time frame chart. The reason why we were not able to break above the 98,500 level was because of the daily time frame quarterly VWAP. Okay, so if you look at the historical data, if you look at the historical data, you would notice that we had a break above both of these dynamic lines. Okay, we had a break above both of these dynamic lines back on 17th of September, right? And then we had the first retest of this level back on 2nd of October. Then we had the second retest of both of these levels on 10th of October, right? We had the third retest of this level, the daily time frame quarterly VWAP back on 13th of January, and then ultimately we had a break below. Okay, I remember doing the live stream when price was breaking below this level, price was looking extremely weak, sitting above this level, and I clearly mentioned when I was doing the live stream saying that price is now breaking below this 1 day quarterly VWAP. It took us almost 6 months to break below. Okay, price was sitting above this level since 17th of September, right? So September, October, November, December, January, February. So it took price almost 6 months to break below this level, to break below this very important dynamic line. For 6 months, it was continuously acting as a very strong support, and a retest of this you can actually notice somewhere around here also. This was a nice perfect retest of this level. So it basically took, once again, 6 months for price to break below this level. And I did mention in my live stream and in my updates also that it's going to take an equal amount of effort for price to break back above this level or break back above this dynamic line. It's not going to be an easy task, and this is what exactly happened. Once we had a break below, we gave the first retest, we gave the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th. So we gave almost 11 attempts. We almost had 11 attempts to break back above this dynamic line, but all of those were basically failed attempts. We were not able to, despite having like 11 attempts, we were not able to break back above this dynamic line, which basically shows you how strong this level really is, or how strong these dynamic lines actually are. Now, similar is the case with this, TVEM bands as well. It took us almost 6 months and almost like three major attempts to break below this TVEM band dynamic line. And in my opinion, now that we have lost this level, you can basically look at it from the perspective of horizontal levels also. Like 90,000 level, it was a very strong level. We had the first retest, second one, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and then at the time of 11th retest, we had a break below. So it took 11 attempts for bears to break below this horizontal level right here, okay, which basically shows you that now this level has been flipped. It has basically changed into an equally important or equally strong resistance area, okay. So now it's going to take an equal amount of effort for bulls to break back above 90k, because it's not just about the 90k 92k resistance, it's also about this TVEM bands as well. It's also about this YVWAP as well, which is basically the average, another very important average. You can see that both of these dynamic lines, they are now centered in the same spot. They are now centered in the same region, which means that now it's going to be extremely difficult for price on the Bitcoin chart to easily break back above the 92k level. Most probably, most likely, now we are going to continue in the same range for the next few weeks, and this is why I wanted you guys to watch this live stream till the end. This is the most important conclusion that I wanted to draw. All the options have already been exhausted. This cannot be deviation until and unless maybe a miracle happens, and just in one day we still have like 8 hours and 35 minutes for this candle to close. Maybe in the next 8 hours and 35 minutes, which is next to impossible to happen, maybe in the next 8 hours and 35 minutes price just creates a wick and goes back above the 93,000 level. Once again, it's almost next to impossible. The chances of this happening are less than, I would say, 1%. And that's why, most probably, most likely, for the next two to 3 weeks or for a longer period of time, you are going to see price consolidating in the same range, which basically means that on the USDT dominance chart also, even if we fall back below this support level, we have MTF200 EMA, we have this support level. You can see that it took USDT dominance the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. So it took USDT dominance almost 14 attempts to break back above this resistance level. And now that it has fully reclaimed this level, you can see that this was a daily candle to close, and most likely this candle is also going to close above this resistance level, and which means that Bitcoin most likely is going to close another daily candle in a similar fashion, in a similar manner, just below this resistance level now, just below 92,000, which basically shows you that now this level has been fully reclaimed by the bears, and price for a longer period of time is now going to consolidate in this range, okay, which is a very difficult thing, I know, to absorb, which is a very difficult thing to comprehend, but yeah, this is the reality. This is what's going to happen for the next few days. And if you guys remember, in the last few live streams when I was explaining to you the function of this quarterly VWAP, I was saying the same thing, that we have already broken below this level, so it's not going to be easy for a price to break back above these levels. It's going to take an equal amount of effort, and we are already seeing that despite having like 10 to 12 different attempts, we were still not able to break back above this resistance level. Maybe if by any miracle this daily candle manages to close above in the next 8 hours above 92,000, then things would be entirely different on the daily time frame chart. This would simply just turn into deviation. But once again, just like I mentioned, that's almost next to impossible, right? Somebody pointed out in the chat that where exactly TVEM is on the USDT dominance chart, and this is the most interesting part. Back on Friday, when almost everybody was bullish, USDT dominance was basically retesting the TVEM band, and you can see how beautifully it plays out. We have resistance rejection, we have TVEM band acting as a support, we have TVEM band acting as a resistance rejection, then we have another precise rejection, then we have another precise rejection, then we go back up, and then we retest it as a support, the second retest of support, the third retest of support, and this was also a retest of YVWAP. Once again, both of these indicators, they're quite similar, very small difference which is basically produced due to the difference in calculations. You can see that they act in a very same manner, right? This one is a little bit more smooth in comparison to this one, but yeah, both of these indicators, they have a kind of similar function. So you can see that back on Friday, when price was trading around 99,000, everybody was so bullish. And if you guys remember, we had this short position open on Bitcoin, which we had to close break even. And, immediately I placed the short limits. I was basically anticipating a deviation move, so I immediately placed the short limits at 98,100. We once again missed that short position just by a few $100. and then price went from 98,000 all the way down to around 86,000. So we missed that $12,000 move by a huge margin. But yeah, we already had this short position open. So yeah, back on Friday, uh, price on the Bitcoin chart was retesting the ELD VWAP. Okay, and that's exactly why I have a short position limits placed at 98,100 level. So if at some point in time price goes back up there, if price goes back up to 92,000, 91,500, that's going to be a very good short position. If it goes back up to this trend line, that's again going to be another very good short position, which is going to be the place of, I guess, 95,000. And then if it goes back up to 98,000, that's going to be another very good short position. And the reason why the price had a rejection at 99,000 was partially because of the 1 day quarterly VWAP, which I just showed you, and secondly because of the 4-hour ELD VWAP as well. You can see that bulls desperately tried to reclaim this level and miserably failed. We had a rejection, and then we closed the 4-hour candle under this level, and then we quickly fell back under this resistance level, once again creating a nice deviation move, which could have presented a very good shorting opportunity somewhere around here. But unfortunately, after the Bybit hack, price did not retest this level. But if at some point in time price goes back up to 98.5k, sooner or later that's going to be a very good shorting opportunity. Right now, the next segment of the live stream, it's really important. I want you guys to pay attention to it, because that's going to be something related to altcoins. The most important question about the altcoins, what exactly is happening with altcoins, and I want you guys to pay attention to it very carefully, because all of these different indexes, all of these different different chart, total 2, total 3, Bitcoin dominance, others.d, they're sitting at very critical levels, and anything could be happening at this point, right? So it's very important to pay attention to all of these charts very carefully, right? We just have the position on Bitcoin long position open, and then we have position open on Cake. Let's see what happens. If price starts closing the candles below, I would most probably close both of these positions break even, although this one is still sitting on support, the daily time frame support looking good. But yeah, I don't really want to take any extra risk right now. Okay, so let's start the discussion with Bitcoin dominance, BTC Dom, and this is the same thing as BTC.D. This is just a coin that you can basically trade also. So if you would like to trade Bitcoin dominance, that you can use this chart. And before I explain, everything related to altcoins, I really want you guys to like the live stream, because almost like 125 people are watching the live stream and only 85 of you have liked it. Please make sure to like the live stream. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure to join the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video, and make sure to follow me over my Twitter account. Okay, let's start a discussion related to altcoins. So first of all, in a short term, BTC DOM, you can call it, Bitcoin dominance, you can call it, is right now sitting at a support level. Okay, and you can use both of these charts side by side. You can use BTC.D as well. This was the resistance for BTC.D, and all we could have, all we wanted was just simply a small push on the Bitcoin chart, because you can see Bitcoin dominance is already going down. This is basically the market capitalization of Bitcoin. It's already going down. So just a small push from Bitcoin, maybe from 86,000, 87,000 up to 90,000, could have given all these altcoins a very nice move, a nice impulsive wave towards upside, because the Bitcoin dominance was already going down. And we already know that for a perfect recipe of a pump, all you need is Bitcoin dominance going down and the price on the Bitcoin chart going up. And a perfect recipe of disaster for altcoins, a perfect recipe of massacre for altcoins, is when Bitcoin dominance is going up and price on the Bitcoin chart is also, Bitcoin dominance is going up and price on the Bitcoin chart is going down. And this is the same thing that happened back on 3rd of Feb. If you guys remember, Bitcoin dominance shot up. It wicked up to 64.2% level, and at the same time, the Bitcoin dominance was going up, and Bitcoin was dumping from 102,000 down to 91,000, and that's that's what basically triggered a massive altcoin liquidation event, because price on a Bitcoin chart was going down, which was basically making altcoins bleed. And at the same time, Bitcoin dominance was going up. So that was a kind of a double blow for altcoins. And at the same time, once again, all these altcoins, they were going down. And most of these altcoins, they were down already almost 40%, 50%. So right now, Bitcoin dominance is rejecting at this resistance level. But if you take a look at the dynamic lines, this is a quarterly VWAP, and the most important line right here becomes the 1-day 12-period exponential moving average. So let's set an alert around here. There is a high likelihood that Bitcoin dominance most probably is going to bounce off at this 1-day 12-period exponential moving average and quarterly VWAP. You can look at the historical data also. Price almost always is reacting at this level. So in short, Bitcoin needs to quickly go back up. Bitcoin needs to quickly recover, because if Bitcoin continues to go down, price on a Bitcoin chart continues to go down, with price on the Bitcoin dominance chart going up or bouncing off this support, altcoins, they are going to get massacred immediately, right? No, this is not 200 EMA. This is 1-day 12-period exponential moving average. This is another indicator that I've created myself. It makes you visualize the higher time frame moving average on the smaller time frame chart. This is another indicator I've created, and I would publish it very soon. And similarly, similar thing is being told to you by the BTC DOM chart as well. You can see that it's sitting at this support level, or it has gone down to this support level, which means that once Bitcoin dominance bounces off at 1-day 12-period exponential moving average and the quarterly VWAP, this one, since is also back at support, this one would also bounce off here. And once again, on the Bitcoin dominance chart, you would see price going up. And once again, Bitcoin needs to quickly recover. Otherwise, it's a dead situation for altcoin. The first thing, okay? The most important thing. Secondly, if you look at these dynamic lines, and if you have been watching my live streams, if you have been reading my updates, you would know that whenever the two dynamic lines, they're crossing each other, be it 1-day 12-period exponential moving average, be it quarterly VWAP, yearly VWAP, be it TVEM line, TVM bands, or anything, whenever two dynamic lines are crossing each other, it becomes a very strong support and resistance level. Obviously, if price is trading above those dynamic lines, it becomes a very strong support. If price is trading below that level, it becomes a very strong resistance. And in this situation, since on the Bitcoin dominance chart, price is trading above both of these dynamic lines and they're kind of crossing each other, they're kind of very close to each other, it usually gives you a very strong support. So that's why, once again, Bitcoin needs to quickly go back up from here. Otherwise, we are completely cooked, because once Bitcoin dominance falls back down to this level, and with Bitcoin continuing to going down, and if Bitcoin continues to go down, that's once again going to create a sort of bloodbath for altcoins, right? And Bitcoin, in my opinion, would not go down for as long as USDT dominance is sitting in the middle of nowhere. USDT dominance really needs to retest this resistance level, and you guys can set an alert on your TradingView chart also at 5.2% level, because this is the actual resistance. This was a small resistance, and now 23 minutes for this 4-hour candle to close. Most likely now we are closing this 4-hour candle above this level, and I would exit my Bitcoin long position most probably, because at the break-even price, because most probably once the rejection happens, price would go back down to this level right here at 4.99%. Then once again, it would bounce off that level. So it's going to be a cat and mouse sort of play, in which price would just continue to bounce in this range. And it's not something that you would like to see, okay? It's not something that, honestly, I would like to see, because if price is moving in a very narrow tight range, there is still a possibility that price may go down on the Bitcoin chart, right? So that's why the best possible decision in this situation would be to simply just exit the position. So Bitcoin dominance once again is going down. This is a support that I'm expecting the price to bounce off from. This is a short-term update, right? In a long term, there is still a high likelihood. We already had a wick up to 64% level. There is a high likelihood that at some point in time, we are going to have a huge wick all the way up to 71% level, okay? This is a common belief among people who are trading crypto, people who have been present during the previous cycles also. This is a very common belief that the altcoin season would only start. I honestly, at this point, I don't even know if there is going to be any altcoin season or not. And I would show you a chart which is very, very important. By the way, I have, updated, I have shared an update on others.d as well, but I would show you in real time what exactly do I mean, or why exactly do I say that I'm not even sure if there is going to be any altcoin season or not, because Bitcoin dominance has already gone up to 64% level. And I remember that. I remember this thing almost like a month or two ago when Bitcoin dominance was trading around 50% level, 55% level. And, I mentioned the same thing in my live stream that there are basically two very important, school of thoughts in the market right now. One says that Bitcoin dominance would most probably go back up to 61% level, and then the other one says that no, the altcoin season would only start once Bitcoin dominance would wick up to 71%, 71% level. And at that time there was someone in my live stream present and who started arguing with me saying that nobody in the crypto Twitter space is mentioning about 61%, 70% levels. Bitcoin dominance would go down from 50%, it would go down to 30%, 38%. And I'm not making up any of these things, just to let you guys know. This is actually a very common belief, in the crypto Twitter space right now. It's a very popular narrative right now that price ultimately on the Bitcoin dominance chart would go back up to 71% fib level, because this is something that has happened in the past as well. Price would ultimately go back up to 71% fib level, and that's where you are going to see a reaction, and that's when the actual altcoin rally is going to start. Okay. So regarding Bitcoin dominance, this is a short-term update and this is a long-term update. Short-term update obviously is that it's getting rejected at resistance level, but nothing really is going to change because Bitcoin needs to pump. And that's why you just got you just would have noticed that I got the alert on _others.d. Okay, _others.d, it's pumping. Altcoins, they're moving up, or the altcoins, they're relatively stable in comparison to Bitcoin. Even though Bitcoin has been going down, altcoins, they're relatively stable, which is actually a good thing. Just because uh, Bitcoin dominance is going down, just because Bitcoin dominance is getting rejected at this resistance area, this is the reason why altcoins, they have been relatively stable, and Bitcoin really needs to do something. Really needs to pump from here, because once we touch this support level on the Bitcoin dominance chart and Bitcoin continues to go down, then that's really going to be game over for altcoins. They are going to bleed a lot. Okay. Let's take a look at the total 2 chart also. On the total 2 chart, it's a slightly confusing situation. I would say price still is sitting at this support level, and I wouldn't really say that it's sitting at a support, because it's simply just sitting in the middle of nowhere. If we get rejected around here, if we start closing a few 4-hour candles in this range, then most likely we would go down to $961 billion level, right? But if we just quickly close a 4-hour candle above this range, then this could be a good sign for altcoins, and then we would ultimately go back up to $1.16 trillion region, and that's where you can find some short positions. That's where you can start looking for short positions, because once again, you have to play the range, right? If we go back up there, this was a deviation. If we go back up there, then that's going to be a very good sign to place some short positions. And on the others.d chart, which is in my opinion a more important chart, and that's where I would answer the question about the altcoin rally also. We had the trend line break. I was mentioning this thing. I had a few short positions open. We closed some of them break even. This was a trend line. We had a break below. Once again, the same entry model, price fell back into this support, higher time frame support, came back up, retested this trend line. We know that this is a bearish retest, and this was not just a retest at the trend line. This was also a retest at the resistance levels. This was also a retest at the 1-day resistance. This was also a retest at the quarterly VWAP on the 4-hour time frame chart and 1-day 12-period exponential moving average, which ultimately resulted in others.d price going down. So this is a short-term update, and in a short term, once again, this most probably could be a deviation move. If Bitcoin dominance continues to go up, I would really, or you would really pray that this happens to be a deviation and others.d manages to close a candle above in this range and goes back up to this resistance level. Because if in the next 17 minutes or in the next 4 hour we get rejected around here, then the altcoins are going to get further massacred, right? And it all depends on Bitcoin, and it all depends on Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance also to some extent is correlated with Bitcoin. Most people do not realize this thing, but Bitcoin dominance at the end of the day is still the market capitalization of Bitcoin. So what happens is that if price goes down from 95,000 to 90,000, Bitcoin dominance starts going up, because it's market capitalization of Bitcoin, and because Bitcoin has almost always in the past few weeks bounced from 90,000 region, people start buying Bitcoin and people start rotating their capital into Bitcoin because they think that this could be a good buying opportunity, and that's how Bitcoin dominance goes up and altcoins they suffer. But once Bitcoin starts breaking below some key support levels, which in this situation was 92,000, 90,000, it goes down to 86,000, people start panicking. Those people who were actually buying Bitcoin, they start panicking and they start thinking that, okay, Bitcoin is not able to hold above these support levels. So maybe I should try to exit my long position, or maybe I should try to exit my spot positions on Bitcoin, which ultimately results in, and that's why you would have noticed that if Bitcoin goes down, let's suppose $5,000-$6,000 down, then in most cases Bitcoin dominance would go up. But once Bitcoin starts breaking below some higher time frame support levels, or it goes down a lot, like if there is a huge move, like $10,000, $15,000 move, that's when you would see that ultimately Bitcoin dominance would also go down after a certain period, because this is obviously because people would start panicking, and once again the market capitalization of Bitcoin, it would go down, or it would start reducing. So on the others.d chart, the short term update is that by the looks of it, it maybe looks like a deviation move, or you would really pray that this happens to be a deviation move, okay? Because if we start consolidating in this range, something like this, then ultimately this would turn into a resistance level and we would go down a lot. And if we start breaking above this level, this would simply just be a deviation move. This would be a very good opportunity for you to build some long positions on some altcoins, and then we would ultimately go back up to this resistance level, and nothing much would change. Honestly, you would see a small recovery on altcoins. Maybe they would go up 10%, 15%, but you would get a very nice opportunity on these altcoins once this region, this resistance gets retested. And similar is the case with total 2 also. Once this resistance level it gets retested, you would get a nice shorting opportunity on all of these altcoins that have already broken below their higher time frame support levels, and that have already flipped their higher time frame support into resistances, right? The long-term update. Let's just now talk about the long-term update. Others.d, it's still trading under this resistance level. I clearly mentioned this thing in my last few updates also, that there is no point opening or building any bigger swing long positions on any of these altcoins right now. With the spot positions, it's fine, but there is no point, in my opinion, opening any swing positions with leverage specifically, for as long as others.d is sitting below this below this resistance level. So you can clearly see that Bitcoin went down to 91,000 back on 3rd of Feb, and then it quickly made a recovery up to 99,000. Okay, but others.d, it fell back to 7.7% and it never made the recovery. It consolidated, and that's why the consolidation is so dangerous in this zone. That's why I continue to say that USDT dominance, it needs to go down. It needs to go down. It's about to close the 4-hour candle, 13 minutes for this candle to close. It's about to close the 4-hour candle above this range. Maybe in the next 1 hour or so, it really needs to go down, because if we start consolidating in this range, this would mean that this support, this level has now been fully flipped into a support. Same is the case with others.d. You can see that once we started consolidating in this range, this was the first candle close. Okay, that's fine. The second candle close. Okay, that's something, you need to be worried about. The third candle close, the fourth candle close, the fifth one, sixth one. That's when you know that, okay, the situation is not good, because we have been closing multiple candles below this range, and now this level has now been completely turned into resistance. And this is now a good shorting opportunity. So every time others.d goes back up to resistance, you try to build some short positions, because that's what would give you the best possible risk to reward ratio in terms of 1-day 12 period. In fact, you can also build some short positions once this yellow line, which is 1-day 12 period exponential moving average, and this black line right here, which is 4-hour quarterly VWAP, gets retested. But the long-term update is that we are still trading under this daily time frame resistance level, which we broke below back on 3rd of Feb when this huge dump on altcoins happened, and nothing much has changed so far. Same is the case with Bitcoin dominance, because others.d is basically get almost always influenced by a Bitcoin dominance. So you can see that Bitcoin dominance did not break below this higher time frame support that we reclaimed back on 3rd of Feb. So Bitcoin dominance needs to lose this support that it reclaimed back on 3rd of Feb, and similar is the case with others.d. It needs to reclaim this resistance level that it broke below back on 3rd of Feb. Now, once again, in a super long term, And if you have been holding some spot positions, if you have been holding any swing positions, you need to listen to this very carefully. And I would highly recommend, this is the last point by the way, I would highly recommend that you guys read this update right here. Okay, these two updates, the one that I shared 4 hours ago, _others.d update, and the second one is this one that I shared back on 9th of Feb, almost like 20 days ago, 18 to 20 days ago, 9th of Feb, I shared this detailed update related to _others.d. And let me show you on the charts what exactly I have mentioned in that update, because that was a very important update, right? Let me show you on the charts. 1 second. Let's go to a copy of this layout because I want a blank chart. And let's talk about _others.d. Okay. This is the last point, by the way, and this is the most important part of the live stream. So I would request all of you to listen to this very carefully. This would basically tell you what's going to happen with altcoins during this season, if there is going to be any altcoin season or not, or maybe, you know, on the flip side, is there going to be any huge dump in which altcoins they would go down 50%, 60%, or maybe, you know, $290 Solana was your best opportunity to sell, or $4,000, $4,100 Ethereum was the best possible opportunity to sell. All these questions will be answered, you know, after the end of this live stream. But I would highly, once again recommend that you guys need to pay attention to this chart. You guys should pay attention to this chart, others.d, because this is what this chart usually dictates what happens with almost 99% of the altcoins. With the bigger market cap, with the top 10 cryptocurrencies, you can use some other index, but with the rest of these altcoins, you would always have to use the others.d chart, which means for almost 99% altcoins, you need to take a look at this chart. And 125 plus people are watching the live stream. Only 93 of you have liked it. Please make sure to like the live stream. And before I proceed forward, somebody has mentioned about 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yes, the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 offer is still valid. For those of you who don't know, we are partnered with 𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a partner exchange. We are, you know, if you would register under our referral link, like, you know, you can register using our referral link. Okay, one of the staff members, they would share the referral link. You can find it in the Discord server also, the link for which you can find in the description of this video. Or alternatively, you can go to my Twitter profile and you can simply just find the link in my bio. You can register with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 using our referral link, and you can start trading on 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Recent, even out like I guess 2 weeks ago, 1 or 2 weeks ago, I did a complete dedicated live stream in which I explained that why exactly I stopped trading on 𝗍𝗁𝗍, why exactly I stopped trading on Bybit, because I had to encounter a lot many issues, which you can also, by the way. I was also a common user, right? And even I was partnered with Bybit. And even though I was partnered with Bybit, I encountered all of these different issues in which they blocked 2 of my accounts, and they still have not unbanned or unblocked both of those accounts. So yeah, you know, I think that you should be, you know, moving your trading, your positions and everything to 𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a non-KYC exchange. We can talk about the benefits of 𝗏𝗏𝗏s all day, but this is not the stream to talk about all that. I would highly recommend that you guys start trading on 𝗏𝗏𝗏. And you know, it gives you membership benefits also. Like if you would register with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 using our referral link, you can get a 7-day or I guess 14-day free membership of our Discord server, which otherwise is going to cost you $60 first thing. And if you're actively trading using our 𝗏𝗏𝗏 referral link, then you would get the membership benefits also. So the $60 subscription is only going to cost you, I guess, like $45 or $50 per month. Similar is the case with the quarterly and yearly memberships also. And on top of that, finally, you would get a lot of other benefits. Like we recently had the 10% cashback campaign, which in my opinion was a very good campaign, right? So if you were to deposit $10,000 in your 𝗏𝗏𝗏 account, all those people who did that, they got a free $1,000, and you could have created as many accounts as you wanted. So all those accounts, or you know, you could have created all these different accounts on 𝗏𝗏𝗏. You could have deposited $10,000 in all of these accounts, and you could have received the free $10,000 in terms of bonus in your accounts, free, without doing any single step, without opening any single position, without doing anything, right? So you know, you can register with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 using our referral link. And the most important part is that if you are not registered with our referral link, okay, and you still have a 𝗏𝗏𝗏 account, you need not to create a new account. You need not to do anything. All you need to do is just simply join the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's Discord server. You can open a support ticket and you can share your Bluffin UID. That's all you have to do. Just share with us your Bluffin UID. We will automatically convert it for you into our referral link. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to like create a new account or do literally anything. And you would get all the benefits like the free membership and the discount and the cashback campaigns, giveaways and everything. You would be automatically able to participate. Okay, so I would highly recommend that you guys start trading on Bluffin. Okay, so coming back to the original discussion, yes, you can watch the stream later on, Harry, because obviously this live stream is on YouTube, so it's going to be there. You can always watch it later on. Okay, so let's talk about others.d, the most important chart, which basically dictates what happens with altcoins. First of all, on the others.d chart, we are not looking at the smaller time frame. We are looking at the weekly time frame chart, and we know that the higher time frame you go, more accurate these things would become. The higher time frame you go, and I would highly recommend you guys de-risk 50% of your Bitcoin position, because I don't know what's gonna happen with Bitcoin, honestly. Bitcoin has been trading, it really depends on USDT dominance. If USDT dominance falls back under that, support level, this would be considered as a deviation and something good may happen. But if not, then we are seriously cooked, and you need to de-risk your position. You need to price is now at break even. You need to just de-risk some position, maybe close like 75%, 60% of your position and save it for DCA purposes. Okay, so regarding others.d, so others.d, we basically have two trend lines on the others.d chart. First thing you need to understand is that the higher time frame you go, more accurate all of these things would become. You talk about support, resistance, trend lines, chart patterns, order blocks, any other thing. The higher time frame you go, more accurate all of these things would become. So on the others.d chart, we are looking at the weekly time frame chart, which means any of the statements that I would be making, although they would take some time to play out completely, but those statements eventually are going to have a very high likelihood of playing out, are most likely going to be true, right? Maybe take some time, but are most likely going to be true. So on the others.d chart, we have weekly time frame and we have two trend lines basically. The first trend line is the one that started forming back on 4th of January 2024, basically at the start of January. And the second trend line, which is a longer trend line, basically started forming back in 2017, right? And you can notice that the first thing you need to understand is that, your belief about the trend lines. If you would watch this live stream from the beginning, I already explained how trend line plays out. Or if you have been watching my previous live stream, you would know that what exactly I mentioned about trend lines. Price ultimately breaks below trend lines. It's only a matter of time when it would break below. And you can see this on the Bitcoin chart also. Whatever has happened in the past 24 hours, you can see it on the Ethereum chart also. Whatever has happened in the past 24 hours, you can see it on the others.d chart also. Whatever has happened in the past 72 hours. On the others.d chart, on the weekly time frame, we basically have two trend lines. So one thing is for sure, price on the others.d chart ultimately is going to break below these two trend lines. The first one we already have broken below, the second one we would ultimately, and this would result in altcoins going down 80%, 90% at some point in time. But the most important part is that we are looking at the weekly time frame chart, and this trend line has been in formation since 2017. So the first bounce, the second bounce, the third bounce, then we have this fourth bounce, which is happening first time after 2021. Okay, and remember this thing, and if you guys remember, back in December 2020, that was when Bitcoin was basically forming the bottom. Similar was the case with the altcoins also. So something that you need to pay attention to is that whenever on the others.d chart, whenever price goes back to this trend line, because it bounces off that trend line for a long term, it always marks the bottom for altcoin. It is always the bottom for altcoin. This was a bottom for altcoin back in 2017. This was a bottom for altcoin, and you can imagine that back in August 2019, we were at 4.92%, and then we went up to 19.4% till 10th of January 2022. So you can imagine that if you had bought anything back in 2019 August, you could have easily made huge moves like 50x, 100x, 200x on all of these altcoins. Okay, most of these altcoins that have good narratives. So whenever price goes back to the trend line, it almost always marks the bottom. But at the same time, we know that price would ultimately break below the trend line. Okay, sooner or later that's going to happen. It may happen the next year, it may happen the next 10 years, but ultimately that would happen, which would result in others.d going down to this supported 4.87%, which is going to be absolutely uh, an absolute massacre for altcoins. It may happen in the next 2 days, it may not happen in the next 20 years, but at least it has not happened. This trend line we have been holding above, since the past 9 years. The first bounce, this was the bottom. The second bounce, this was the bottom. The third bounce, this was the bottom. The fourth bounce. Now, this is the most important question, the most important question right here. What's gonna happen this time? Okay, price is now back at the same trend line which has marked the bottom in all three previous instances. And in case you have any kind of confusion about the trend line, this is another trend line which started forming back in January 2021. So first bounce, this was the bottom. Second bounce, this was the bottom. The third bounce, this was the bottom. And look what happened at the fourth time. So you can never really predict. There is just one way that you can know if price is about to break below the trend line, and which is not the perfect way, honestly, is by looking at the bounces. If the bounce is getting smaller, and the same technique I showed you on the Bitcoin chart, also the same technique you can apply on any other chart. If the bounce is getting weaker, like if the price is bouncing very weakly at the trend line, uh, you know, uh, at a particular bounce, that's when you know that, okay, price is about to break below the trend line. You can use the same thing on the Bitcoin chart. You can do the same thing on the others.d chart as well. So this was a bigger bounce. This was a bigger bounce. This was a bigger bounce. Now, if we go back to this trend line once again, okay, you can set an alert on this trend line. If we go back to retest this trend line once again, then this would show you that this was a very weak bounce in comparison to this bounce, in comparison to this bounce, in comparison to this bounce, and in comparison to this one. And just for reference, you can see that on this other trend line, we had this first bigger bounce, the second big bounce, smaller in comparison to first one. Then we had this third one, smaller in comparison to previous one. And if you would look at the 3-day or the 1-day time frame chart, sorry, others.d, by the way, is back at support. So if you would go to the daily time frame chart, you would notice that this bounce at this trend line was a small one in comparison to all the previous bounces, which ultimately was telling you that, okay, price is about to break below the trend line. We already have lost one trend line, which is an event in itself, to be honest, okay, which is an event in itself, which is not a small thing. We already have lost the trend line, which was forming back in 2021, which started forming back in 2021. And now it's a very important thing to understand. If we break below this trend line, it's game over for altcoins. Let me be very clear on this. There is not going to be any altcoin season. It would be game over. But if we bounce off this region, that's going to be once in a lifetime opportunity for you to buy altcoins. And this still is once in a lifetime opportunity for you. Okay, try to understand this thing. This still is once in a lifetime opportunity because altcoins, they're already down a lot. Most of them are trading around their bear market lows, okay, which is absolutely a shitty thing to realize. But most altcoins, they're already down a lot. So if you have any hopes left to in the crypto market, if you have any kind of hopes left in the market or any other project that you are holding, this is the time to buy. This is the time to DCA, because we are at the same spot that we were back in August 2019, or back in 2021, or back in 2017, when the bottom on all of these altcoins happened. Because once such things start going up, you wouldn't really get any other opportunity. Things are down a lot right now. If you have any kind of conviction in any of these projects, then you should simply start investing into them right now, and in spot, not in leverage. Remember this thing, in spot, not in leverage, because others.d, it's still sitting at support. Now you must be asking yourself the question that what would happen if it breaks below? What would I get from this? It's not about the confirmation part, it's about the risk to reward ratio part. Okay, so right now we are sitting at this trend line. You don't have any kind of confirmation that it would break below or not, but at the same time you would get the best possible risk to reward ratio. On the flip side, if you are waiting for the confirmation part, what you can do is that you would wait for the break above this daily time frame resistance, then you would wait for the retest, and just you would pray that the retest happens, and then you can start building a long position that would give you a very good confirmation as well. Okay, so this is all, or this is everything you wish to know about altcoins, and I would like to end the live stream here. You can notice that most probably it has created a deviation but nothing can be said for sure, because at the same time, you would notice that Bitcoin dominance is also sitting at this support level, right? Bitcoin dominance is almost retesting this support. So it's a very difficult situation to notice right now. Yeah, Bitcoin, it wicked to 87,877 and now once again it's back. Where was Bitcoin 5 minutes ago? Yeah, 5 minutes ago it was at, you can imagine the, the kind of volatility that we have in the market right now. Just in 5 minutes, we are down from 88,000 back to 86,700. So once again, try to de-risk any of the positions that you have open, because it's a very risky kind of a situation. How is the 4-hour close looking on USDT.D? Honestly, not good, because USDT.D has already closed a 4-hour candle above in this range. Most likely it's going to close another 4-hour candle above in this range. And just like I mentioned to you, it's a very difficult situation right now for anyone who is holding Bitcoin or any of the long positions, because you see the more and more price consolidates in this range, the more difficult it's going to get for for the bulls or for any bullish case scenario. You would really pray that maybe in the next 4 hours price just dips below, or if it starts going up from here, then it's obviously done. We would most likely retest 85,000 in that situation. Okay guys, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. Make sure to like the live stream. We finally have achieved the target of 107 likes. Okay, 120 people are watching the live stream and 107 of you have already liked it. I would really appreciate if you are able to subscribe to the YouTube channel also. Make sure to like the live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are not following me over Twitter, 𝗟𝘅𝗿𝗲, this is my Twitter handle. You can follow me. You can join Bluffin using a referral link. You can join the Discord server alternatively and simply just drop your UID. All the links you can find in the description of this video. I would really recommend that you guys join the Discord server. We're always having a very productive discussion, except for few of the members. I don't want to name them, but yeah, thank you so much guys for joining in. On a lighter note, don't you get tired of speaking for so long? You would be surprised to know that I have another live stream in exactly 50 minutes from now, and I would have to speak the very same way. So yeah, I don't get tired. This is my job, and this is what I do on day-to-day basis. So yeah, this is what exactly I love doing. It's not just about the job part. I'm not doing a 9 to 5 job. This is in fact I love doing, right? So yeah, thank you so much guys for joining in. Take care and have a great week ahead. See you guys next week, and see some of you in the Discord server also.